Hello everyone, my name is Satish Kumar from Chemistry Department. In the previous class we discussed about the reactions of phenol, and now in this class we will talk about the rearrangements involving phenolic group. The first rearrangement, the rearrangement means the interchanging of the groups within the molecule. We will not go deeper into that rearrangement explanation and all. So in rearrangement what happens, one of the atom or entire group actually migrates from one carbon atom to another carbon atom. The example what I am taking means in syllabus is Friese rearrangement. Now what is Friese rearrangement? So this is a phenyl ester. Okay, now we have a phenyl ester here. So what happens if you heat this phenyl ester in presence of Lewis acid like AlCl3, aluminum chloride, then you are going to get the rearranged products. Two products you are going to get, isomers. One is orthohydroxy ketone, the other one is the para-hydroxy ketone you are going to get. Now these two are isomers, both are formed. The ratio of these products can be controlled by maintaining the reaction conditions during the reaction, like temperature and the solvent. Now this is the reaction. The esters are rearranged into, the phenolic esters are rearranged into orthohydroxy and para-hydroxy ketones. Now we will see the mechanism, how these things work. In the mechanism, what is the point we need to remember is, aluminum chloride is a Lewis acid, it's a electron acceptor. It polarizes the lone pair of electron present in a molecule. Now we'll write it like this. We have O, C double bond O and CH3 here. I have taken CH3 just to make you understand that it is a ketone. In place of CH3 you can take any alkyl group, not an issue. But just for the sake of simplicity I have taken CH3. Instead I could have put R, but let us take that is CH3 only. Now we have this molecule here, and if you add AlCl3, as I told you earlier, AlCl3 is a electron acceptor. It polarizes this carbonyl carbon, which is electron rich in nature, not this oxygen here. So what happens when it polarizes, the molecule become like this, CO, CO, okay, and AlCl3 here, and minus here, plus here, and we have CH3 here. Once this carbonyl carbon oxygen gets positive charge, there is a small rearrangement takes place here. What happens? See this entire phenyl group, this bond, okay, see I will write AlCl3 here, see, AlCl3 minus oxygen plus. Since this carbonyl oxygen is having positive charge, what happens? There is a small, like migration of groups takes place here. See, this oxygen attacks this AlCl3 here. So what happens? This molecule breaks. That means this bond, the oxygen and carbon bond, is now migrating towards AlCl3. So what happens? You will get a compound like this. See, the oxygen carbon bond is now transferred to AlCl3. So we can write like AlCl3 minus and here. Okay. Now what happens when this oxygen moves towards this AlCl3? Now we got CH3CO with a positive charge. I'll write it here, CH3CO plus. This is acylium carbocation. I'm writing here, acylium carbocation. Acylium carbocation. Now in this step, see here positive charge and here is a negative charge. Once again the molecule is neutral, the entire system is neutral. So in the next step what happens? I am writing it here. Here AlCl3 minus, and we have acylium carbocation here. Now there is two possibilities. Either now this positive charge species acylium carbocation is like an electrophile now. Now we know the fact that electrophile attacks into aromatic system in two ways, either depending on the directive group. In this case, this oxygen behaves as electron donating group. Hence, due to the plus R effect, this group, that is acylium carbocation electrophile, can either go into ortho position or into para position. Those are the only two positions which are possible for the electrophile to go. So we can say that I'm writing it here like this. Either this ortho position can attack this electrophile or this para position can attack this electrophile. There are two possibilities. Now the formation of the product in greater ratio depends upon the temperature as well as the solvent, as I said earlier. Now let us see what happens here. If you carry out this reaction at this moment at greater than 370 Kelvin temperature, then you are going to get ortho substituted product like this. Okay, OH and CO, CH3. Okay, I have written the protonation part here. That means the protonation will occur in the aqueous medium. Or if we carry out the reaction at room temperature itself without providing much heat, then you are going to get the para substituted product like this. CO, CH3. Okay, so this is very important. The elevated temperature leads to the formation of ortho substituted product, whereas the room temperature controlled reaction will give you the para substituted product. Even if you use the non-polar solvents, then it supports this ortho substitution. So use of non-polar solvents, it supports or it favors the formation of ortho substitution, whereas if you use the polar solvents, then it favors the formation of the para substituted product. So this is very important. Now we'll come once again. So with the first step, what happens? The aluminum trichloride, the Lewis catalyst, polarizes the carbonyl carbon and makes this bond weaker. In the second step, what happens? This oxygen atom here, this bond between oxygen and carbon here actually attacks this AlCl3 to get the acylium carbocation. Now in the third step, this acylium carbocation have the two possibilities. Either it can attack by ortho carbon or by para, just because this oxygen is now the plus R group. So we get ortho substituted as well as the para substituted product. So the important point to remember is the ratio of these two compounds depending on temperature as well as the solvent that is used. Now this is the first rearrangement. We will move on to the second rearrangement, that is Claisen rearrangement. Claisen rearrangement. Claisen rearrangement. Claisen rearrangement is a 3,3 sigma-tropic rearrangement. Sigma-tropic. Now sigma-tropic reactions are a class of organic reactions that you are going to study in the upcoming classes, but at this moment let us say it is a 3,3 sigma-tropic. Just I will give the outline of the reaction. Now what is sigma-tropic reaction? I will show you. I will write one simple example here. Now this is an ether, this is an ether. Now on the right hand side, that means to you, that means this side, this left side, we have vinyl group, that is alkene vinyl group. On the right hand side, we have allyl group. So we can call it as allyl vinyl ether. We can call it as allyl vinyl ether. That is allyl vinyl ether. Okay, allyl ether. Now what happens if you heat this allyl vinyl ether? If you heat this, simply heat it. No, you don't have to add. Or else you can also add Lewis acid catalyst. Okay, like BF3, AlCl3 or zinc chloride, etc. Now if you add such kind of catalyst also, then what happens? This molecule rearranges itself to this compound. What happens, like you will get okay, you will get this compound. Now we need to understand What is happening here? So when you take allyl vinyl ether and if you heat it, if you supply heat or if you heat in presence of Lewis acid catalyst, it converts into gamma delta unsaturated carbonyl compound. Gamma delta unsaturated carbonyl compound. Now, let us put the same thing into the phenolic situation. What happened? Because our topic is phenols, so instead of this group, instead of vinyl group, we have to take phenyl so that the reaction will not change, only the group changes here. So what is our intention? We will take phenol here. Now look at this compound. Now in this case we have phenyl group. This is an ether molecule because we know that ether linkage is nothing but COC linkage. On one side we have a phenyl group, on the other side we have allyl group. Now what happens if you heat this molecule? If you heat this molecule, then what happens? You will get a compound like this. You will get a compound like this one. I will write the double bonds here. Okay. You get a compound like this, which upon re-aromatization, you will get a compound like this. Okay, so you will get a compound like this. Now in this case we have orthoallyl phenol. Now how the reaction is taking place? We have to write the mechanism, but we cannot write the mechanism for this reaction because this is a concerted mechanism. It follows a concerted mechanism. In organic chemistry, we have two types of mechanism, ionic or concentrated. If any reaction involves ionic intermediate like carbocation, anion or any other intermediates, then it's called ionic mechanism. But some of the reactions are concerted in nature. That means the bond making and breaking process are taking simultaneously. You cannot actually predict when the bond is breaking, when the bond is at a making or something like that. So we call such type of reactions mechanism as concerted mechanism. Now, instead of just to make it understand, I'll write the bond delocalization structure for you. First we'll write it like this. See, this is vinyl group and this is allyl group. Vinyl and allyl. Now what happens, I'll show you. Simultaneously, see this pi bond goes here, this one comes here and this comes here. Okay, I am just trying to understand the arrow mark. Wherever the arrow mark goes, the bond is shifting. That is how we understand. That means this bond is attaching here, this bond is coming here, and this bond is coming here. That is how you understand. The arrow mark represents the bond shifting. Now we'll write that here. Oxygen was here. Here this bond is coming. Okay. And this bond attaches here and there is a new double bond here. So here there is an hydrogen atom. So what happens? This is alpha, this is, now we missed one more carbon here. This is 1, 2, 3. Okay, now it will be like this. Okay, instead let us write the number 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There is a new sigma bond between 2 and 3. There is a new sigma bond between 2 and 3. Here is a sigma bond. New pi bond between 1 and oxygen, and new pi bond between 1 and 2. That is how you understand the shifting of electrons. Now, with respect to this carbonyl group, this is alpha, this is beta, this is gamma, and this is delta. Now we have gamma delta unsaturated carbonyl compound. That is how the reaction has happened here. Now this is an aliphatic system. Now we'll put the same mechanism into our reaction, that is Claisen mechanism. I'll write it here. You need to concentrate. See, we'll write O. Okay, I'll write it like this. Now we have allyl phenyl ether. We have, this is allyl phenyl ether. This is allyl phenyl ether. Now write allyl phenyl ether. Look carefully what is happening. I'll write it like this. Okay. Now this is also like vinyl group only. Okay, and did you get the point? See, this group, this double bond is similar to this double bond only. That is how you should understand. Now what happens? Similarly, I'll write 1, 2, 3 here, and 1, 2, 3. This is 3, 3 sigma tropic, as I said earlier. 3 atoms are involving. Here I wrote 1, 2 just to make you understand that the migration of the bonds. So 3, 3. So let me show you. This bond comes here, this goes here, and this comes here. Now there is a sigma bond between this 3 and 3. I'll write it here. These are as it is. See, there is a sigma between 3 and 3, so we'll write like this. And this bond is coming here, and this is coming here. There is a pi bond between 1 and 2. This is what you are going to get. Okay, 3 and 3 sigma, 1 and 2 pi here. 1 and 2, there is a pi bond, and this double bond of the aromatic ring actually migrating towards this oxygen and carbon here. So you got this compound. Now what is happening in chemistry, we know the fact that benzene becomes more stable once it gets aromatized. The aromatic character of it has to be regained. So in that sense, what happens? It regains its aromaticity. So we write re-aromatization. Re-aromatization, what I said right here. So we know that we have hydrogen here. This hydrogen comes. The proton exchange will take place. This hydrogen will migrate into this phenolic group. So you are going to get compound like this. So Claisen reaction is a 3, 3 sigma tropic reactions. It follows the concerted mechanism, single step process, and the migration, the bond formation here, the breaking and making of the bond takes place simultaneously. The allyl phenyl ether converted into ortho-hydroxy means ortho-allyl phenol. Ortho-allyl phenol. Okay, that is about Claisen rearrangement. We'll move on to the next section. Our next topic is carbonyl compounds. Our next topic is carbonyl compounds. In organic chemistry, we have several functional groups available, starting from nitro to sulfonic acid and aldehydes, ketones, esters, carboxylic acids, etc. And we have nitrile compounds, etc. Now, the point here is, what are these carbonyl compounds in those functional groups? Now, I can simply tell you that functional groups which contain this group, that is C double bond O, are called carbonyl compound. This is a carbonyl functional group. Now, do we have one single compound? If I say the nitro group, it means it's NO2. If I say sulfonic acid, it's HCO, HSO3. So, similarly, if I say nitrile, it is CN. So, is there any possibility that we have one carbonyl group? No, we have several carbonyl compounds. So, some of the functional group shares this group as in common. Now, we'll see which are those groups. Okay. In definition, I could say that carbonyl compounds are the compounds which contain this group, C double bond O group. Now, imagine that we have two more substitution possible for this carbon. Because there is already double bond here, so the valency of carbon is 4, so we have two more substitution available. Let us imagine that you put H here on both sides. Now you will get formaldehyde. You get formaldehyde. If you put R here on one side and H on the other side, it becomes simply an aldehyde. This R can be anything. If you put CH, it becomes acetaldehyde. If you put ethyl group, it becomes propanaldehyde, etc. Now this is aldehyde. Imagine that if you put both R, you get ketone. You get ketone. That means here CH3, CH3, that becomes as propanone. Okay? So that is how the ketone. If you keep R on one side and if you put OH on the other side, then you will get carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid. Okay? Then if you take R, keep R on the one side and if you put OR on the other side, it becomes ester. Okay? If you keep R on one side and put halogens on the other side, it becomes acid halide. Acid halide. If you keep R on one side and put OCOR on the other side, it becomes anhydride. Now all these compounds can be called carbonyl compounds because in all of these compounds we have CO group, carbonyl functional group. Now we are not going deeper into the nomenclature and all. We have in the syllabus, we'll directly jump into our syllabus. Once when the regular classes starts, we'll discuss about these things in detail. But now we'll move on to the syllabus. In syllabus they are given oxidation and reduction method. That means detection of aldehydes and ketones or identification, the separation or the distinction of aldehydes and ketones by oxidation and reduction method. That is what we need to understand. Now how do we understand this oxidation and reduction method? See, I'll write it here. What do you mean by oxidation? So we say, let us say, take for example, first we'll take aldehyde. We take an aldehyde, simple aldehyde, I'll say acetaldehyde. I have taken acetaldehyde molecule here and we oxidize it. And we oxidize it using any oxidizing agent like potassium permanganate or dichromate or any other chromic oxidant, etc. If we oxidize this molecule, then we are going to get CH3 acid. We are going to get acid. In this case, I have taken acetaldehyde molecule, and we got acetic acid. Acetic acid. Now look carefully. We had taken aldehyde which had 2 carbon atoms, and now we got acid which also contains 2 carbon atoms. So the conclusion here is when an aldehyde is oxidized, we'll get a carboxylic acid having same number of carbon atoms. Now I'll write one more example here. This is benzaldehyde, and if you oxidize this molecule using potassium permanganate or something, then let's make a specific KMnO4, you heat it, you are going to get this benzoic acid. So even in this example, the number of carbons are 7 here and 7 here. So there is no change, only thing is you have added one extra oxygen atom here. That is why it is called oxidation, that is son of oxygen. Now, what happens in case of ketones? What happens in case of ketones? Now, let us take a simplest example once again. Let us take propanone, which is the first ketone member here, propanone, and we oxidize this molecule. We know the fact that ketones does not undergo oxidation reaction easily. Okay, they does not undergo oxidation reaction easily. So, what happens if you oxidize this molecule vigorously, that means adding a powerful oxidizing agent, then what happens? This molecule gets broken. So you are going to get CH3, CO, OH plus CO2 plus H2. This is what happens if you forcefully oxidize the molecule. You get acetic acid and formic acid. In the initial step, the formic acid once again oxidizes to form carbon dioxide and water. That is how reaction goes. Now, if you carefully observe, here we had 3 carbon atom. The ketone was having it had 3 carbon atoms, but after the reaction, we got the 2 carbon atoms. So what is the point here? If the ketones undergo oxidation, the conclusion is if the ketone undergoes oxidation, powerful oxidation, it gives the carboxylic acid which is having lesser carbon atom than the parent chain, lesser carbon atom than the parent chain here. Now 3 converted into 2. Okay, that is what happens. So using this method, you can clearly distinguish between aldehyde and ketones. So imagine that you have a solution. Imagine you have an organic compound. You need to determine it whether it is an aldehyde or ketone. We have several other methods in a qualitative estimation of organic compounds, but we are specifically talking about this oxidation method. That means in this method, upon oxidation, if that compound retains the original carbon atoms, retains the original chain, then it has to be an aldehyde. If it degrades, then it has to be a ketone molecule. That is how we understand. First one. We will talk about the reduction methods. Now, reduction. How do we understand this reduction method? So, we'll go in reverse order. Oxidation. The reduction is the exact opposite of oxidation. So, let us take this example, acetaldehyde molecule once again, and let us assume that this time we are reducing this molecule instead of oxidizing. So, once we reduce this molecule, reduction is nothing but addition of hydrogen. Aldehydes are converted into primary alcohols, CH3, CH2, OH. That means you have removed this oxygen here. Removal of oxygen and addition of hydrogen, both are called reduction itself. So, in this case, we got ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol. Okay. Now, this is ethanol, Al, don't get confused. So, this is ethyl alcohol. If we take ketone here, CH3, CO, CH3, and if you reduce this one, if you reduce this molecule, then you are going to get isopropyl alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol, which is a secondary alcohol. Here, ethyl alcohol is a primary alcohol, and here we got isopropyl alcohol, which is a secondary alcohol. So, what is the conclusion here? If any group is taken, suppose imagine that you want to separate aldehydes and ketones, through this reaction we can conclude that the aldehydes undergo reduction to give primary alcohols, whereas the ketones, when the reduction, gives secondary alcohols. If the secondary alcohols are obtained, the starting material must be a ketone. If the primary alcohols are obtained, the starting material must be an aldehyde. So, this is a distinction between aldehydes and ketones using oxidation and reduction methods. In the next class, we will talk about some of the reactions involving the carbonyl compounds like aldol condensation, Perkins and Knoevenagel condensation reactions and all. So, that is all for this class. Thank you very much.